Sonic Frontiers is a game that had a rocky start and is finishing pretty strong. Hey guys, it's Shibo. Today we are going to be talking about Sonic Frontiers, We are in the final home stretch. Just 2 more weeks before Sonic Frontiers comes out. And I have got a lot to say. And by a lot, I mean a lot. I'm going completely unscripted. I'm just going off the top of my dome saying what's on my mind about Frontiers. So I may miss a couple things. I may go around my words. I may stumble when I talk a bit. I'm sorry in advance, but I'm just telling you guys right now. So Sonic Frontiers is a project that started out rocky. We've known it was in development since about 2017, 2019, around that time frame, but we didn't get any concrete news until 2020. The marketing campaign for Sonic Frontiers definitely started out really rocky. We had the IGN showcase, which had the low quality gameplay. It was an older build. There was still a lot of popping and a lot of errors with the animations. There was still a lot of bugs in the game. And not everyone was really feeling it. Everybody was sort of all collectively dogging on Sonic Frontiers, and as a Sonic fan, that definitely made me a bit sad to see everyone dog on one of my favorite all-time video game series, especially since the disappointment that was Sonic Forces 5 years prior. That made me fall out of the series. I sort of had a moment where I fell out of love with Sonic because of the just disappointment that came with Sonic Forces and the aftermath, and how the game was hyped up to be a certain thing, but it ended up being a completely different thing. It was like the biggest, yeah. It was like the biggest scam of it. It was the biggest it just felt like such a fraudulent game, And I mean this in the nicest way possible. Forces is like a polished piece of shit. I don't know, the game itself doesn't have too many bugs, glitches, etc. But the game is polished, but it's just such a mediocre, bad video game that I just can't defend it any. But going off of that, I was in middle school when Forces came out. I'm 20 now. I've been waiting a long time for this game. And Frontiers very, very much started out rocky. Not everyone was feeling it, and I can't blame them for that. The showcases that we got during IGN certainly weren't doing the game any favors. It wasn't showing people what they were going for properly, and so I was a bit upset, or not upset. I was sort of biding my time. Me and my buddies, we were sort of waiting it out to see what they would do next, to see if they would drop any better showcases and whatnot. And we did have the Summer Games Fest Playdays event, which was invite only, reservation type beat. They had the goon squads on deck guarding the Frontiers booth. No recording. They had the plants ready. They had the trees. They had everything basically ready to sort of guard the game from the public eye. And to a point, I can kind of see the whole mystery aspect of the game and how that could play into the marketing, and how the marketing was inadvertently sort of genius in a way, to where they showed so much that we sort of were gassing the game up because we wanted to see more, and then we got more and better marketing as time went on. And leading up to when the game was finally coming out to more public events like Gamescom and EGX and whatnot, we did start to get better marketing. We got the story trailer for Gamescom, which, by the way, I really like that story trailer. I definitely like what we saw. I love what we saw, and I just love how the showcases, the gameplay showcases, the interviews, we kept getting interviews and info drops left and right. We kept getting new gameplay snippets here and there, which showcased the game I wouldn't say in its peak, but it showcases the game in a better light than what they did with IGN. I'll say that much. And to the point where we're getting basically new stuff, not every day, but we do basically get new stuff pretty frequently for Frontiers. And yet I think the best part about it is that we still don't really know too much about Sonic Frontiers, which I can confidently say that that's a good thing, because we don't want to see the whole game before it releases. I'm glad that they haven't shown us the whole game before it releases, because we get to experience a lot of that firsthand. As the title of this video states, I'm really excited for Frontiers. I was cautiously optimistic at first because I wanted to go in with an open mind. I love open world games, or as they dub it, open zone games. I love combat and I love platforming. I also love RPG. There's RPG elements here and there. And so with this game, I wanted to be optimistic, but I didn't want to be disappointed. So I went in with cautious optimism. But as time went on, my confidence in the game grew more and more, to the point where I even pre-ordered the digital deluxe version, because I was just that hype in the game. You know, I think that there is a lot of potential in Frontiers and what could come after it. Now, when I look at Sonic Frontiers, Frontiers embodies a lot of how I've wanted Sonic to be since I was a kid, you know? I grew up in like the Newgrounds era of things, so I grew up watching like Nazo Unleashed, or I grew up playing Sonic RPG, Final Fantasy Sonic X. I grew up watching Sonic Cosmic Chase. And one thing that I've always seen is how cool Sonic was. You know, he was always throwing hands, he was always throwing down, you know? I've always wanted Sonic to tap into more of that shonen element, you know, that DBZ type of element that was established a long time ago with his character, and how the world works, how the stories normally are, you know. And I think that element was definitely lost for the past 10 or so years. We definitely lost that element of Sonic, and you know, he went more to this like family friendly, I guess you could say, this more made for kids type of thing, you know, the whole meta era. And that wasn't I wasn't too dissatisfied with it, but it wasn't exactly what I wanted out of Sonic, which I can say with confidence that it definitely wasn't what I wanted out of him in terms of character, in terms of storytelling, etc., etc. And you know, I like that Frontiers is definitely embodying more of those shonen elements of Sonic. It's definitely great seeing Sonic be basically like a DBZ character, shooting key blasts and throwing hands and stuff. I love the fact that they're expanding his moveset more and more, and especially like, I don't know, it's just gonna be so great. I can't gather, sometimes I don't have the correct words to describe how excited this game makes me, but just thinking about it, it's so cool. There's so much potential with Sonic and this combat and the skill tree, and how they could take it even further in future games and expand upon the playable roster of characters, so that way we can get more playable characters with skill trees and whatnot, and we can get more variety. But you know, first they gotta master Sonic before they do any of that, otherwise it'll all be for naught if they can't master Sonic, you know? And you know, something that I like as well is the open zone formula. Now, the open zone to me takes a lot of cues from, like, you know, the adventure fields or the hub worlds from Unleashed, and you know, the adventure fields, I guess you could say, from 06. It takes a lot of reference from those aspects of those games, and you know, builds upon it with the combat and stuff, the skill tree, what you can do in the overworld. And honestly, I think that this formula would be great for future games and in the series. Now, I don't want to go too in depth with this, because I did do a video on how the open zone formula, or well, how Frontiers could build the foundation for future Sonic games. I will leave a card like right here. No, it's right here. Wherever it is on the screen, you know, you'll see a card. It'll link off to my previous video. I'm really proud of that video, by the way. But moving off of that subject, you know, the open zone formula could be expanded upon in future Sonic games, given Frontiers' success. Now, I think that honestly, you know, one of the biggest complaints is how There's a lack of, momentum when you go down hills and whatnot. You can't roll, you can't spin dash, and there aren't really any like
do things
natural
like,
corkscrews or loop-the-loops on the overworld. And I can understand that to an extent. I can hear that, and I think the biggest thing that they could add in future
natural
titles
corkscrews
is
or
like implementing more platforming gauntlets and more sections where you get to do those traditional Sonic things in the overworld, and you can even have like mini quests that you can go on. Like for instance, I'd love if they like in every open zone title they bring back Big's Fishing, because I feel like that could be a really good mini game that could sort of detense you from the main campaign, like the main story, or even whatever else you were doing. They could totally expand upon that. Like Sonic 06 and Sonic Unleashed, for instance, had sort of side quests that you could go on, and I feel like implementing those into whatever open zone title that comes after Frontiers, it could totally work. Especially when it comes to the more traditional Sonic stages. Now, I want to talk about this briefly because of the fact that, in Sonic Frontiers, the cyberspace stages are treated as more special stages than anything, which is why I'm not too fussed about like the repeating themes or the short the short level design. Although I will say that it would have been better if they were fewer in quantity to make up for the quality, but I really think that in a future open zone title we could get more of those traditional levels where you just go through, like a Sonic level, you do the platforming and stuff. It's the traditional action stage where the level design isn't too linear nor is it too open, so I'd say like a mix between that SA1, SA2 type of level design, because I honestly like both level I like the level layouts from both games, and I really think they fit Sonic, though having too much of one or the other could definitely lead for like unbalanced level design. Like, I don't like it when levels are too linear because then you get forces, but then if they're too open, sometimes you get lost. I feel like a good mix, a good balance, sort of like Thanos, balance just how it should be. I definitely think that would be the way to go for future traditional Sonic stages. But moving off of that, another thing I'm really excited for is the combat skill tree. I want to see how they're going to evolve it in this game. Now, we haven't had a combat skill tree similarly to this. We haven't had one since like Sonic Unleashed. And obviously that one was very had mixed reviews. And personally, I like the Werehog combat. And I'm kind of glad that Sonic has combat in this game. Like I said before, it's something that I've always wanted to see Sonic do. And so there's just so much potential with this skill tree. There's so many cool moves that you can do with him. And I just really think that the skill tree is going to be one of the highlights of the game, definitely, along with the open zone and such. But, oh my god, it's going to be so great. And another thing I want to talk about is how this game has some insane soundtrack potential. Like you don't understand. It has Mondo soundtrack potential. No one says Mondo anymore. I don't care. But the thing that makes me mention that is because of the musical previews and the musical previews that we've heard that Tomoyo Otani and his team are cooking up, and we've heard the theme of Starfall Island, we've heard Kronos Island, we've heard some of the cyberspace stages thus far, and we've heard both the opening and the ending theme, or well, the main and the ending theme. And so this soundtrack is really like, sort of reminding me of those 2000s type of Sonic soundtracks. Like, for instance, Sonic 06 or Shadow the Hedgehog. Because Sonic 06 and Shadow, like, regardless of what you think of the games, those games have really good soundtracks. And, Tomoyo Otani is a Sonic veteran. I'm glad that he's adapting to this new musical style, and I'm glad that they're taking like multiple different approaches with the music, whether they're doing D&B or J-pop or slap bass, like stuff like that is just what I love to see in Sonic, because Sonic as a series, or not even as a series, but Sonic is a series that can embody multiple different musical genres. You know, most people mainly see rock, which I can understand, you know, Crush 40 and whatnot. But you know, I like to see rock, new jack swing, pop music, you know, the odd EDM in there in the mix, you know, slap bass too, especially. You know, Sonic can realistically do any music genre, and I'm just glad that this soundtrack is just going to bang, especially because the soundtrack is over 150 tracks, and I'm pretty sure Tomoyo Otani just wrapped up the soundtrack, if I recall correctly. So, you know, there's a lot of soundtrack potentials. Like six and a half hours worth of music. I think it's gonna go hard, all things considered, you know? And last but not least, one of the things that I want to talk about is the story and why I'm excited for it. Now, we haven't gotten a serious Sonic story. Since, in terms of mainline games, since Sonic and the Black Knight. That's sort of when the whole meta era changed, when the cast when we got the new cast with Roger, Cindy, Colleen, etc. And then, you know, obviously we stopped getting the more driven stories that came from writers like Shiro Maekawa, which is one of the best Sonic screenwriters ever. But you know, with Frontiers, they decided to bring on Ian Flynn, who is well renowned from the Sonic Archie comics, which, you know, some of his issues, all of his issues were really good. Not just that, but the IDW comics. And honestly, with Ian Flynn's writing, he understands the characters really well. Like, he understands them really well, and he's able to set the right tones for a story. So, like, for instance, one of my favorite works of his, the Metal Virus arc, which is an arc that progressively gets worse until the end. And I just love the high stakes and how the arc constantly tests Sonic's will and his drive. It constantly tests him. It's like a test of faith to see how long he can hold out before he gives up. I really love it. There's such high stakes, and I think his writing is going to do justice for the games, especially if they decide to get him on for future titles. Like, who knows, the next open zone game, which I don't know. Like, imagine if it's Sonic Adventure 3, for instance. But no. Aside that, though, I'm very excited for Ian Flynn's writing. I'm excited to see what the whole mystery is about this story and what's up with the Starfall Islands. I can't wait to see all of that hullabaloo and whatnot. And, you know, I'm just really excited for Sonic Frontiers. My overall thoughts on Sonic Frontiers, I'm excited for the game. I'm ecstatic for the game. I think that the game is going to be good. There might be some issues with it, which overall, if the game is mostly good, I won't have an issue with it. And, you know, it's been 5 years since we last got a Sonic game, and I've been waiting for this for a long time. You know, like, I'm 20 now. I was like, what, 15 when Forces came out, or 16, either or. And, you know, it's been a long time. You know, I dropped out of the Sonic series when Forces dropped, just because of how disappointed the game made me. And seeing Sonic Frontiers, you know, this game had a rocky start with its marketing and made an insane comeback. Like, I'm talking like absolutely insane comeback. And so I just hope that Frontiers succeeds. I hope that the game is good, and I hope that this will finally usher in a new era for Sonic. This is why I'm excited for Sonic Frontiers. Hey guys, I hope you all enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. I just wanted to ramble on about why I'm excited for Sonic Frontiers and whatnot. But enough of that. Today, I'm going to be announcing a giveaway. This is my first one on the channel. I'm kind of excited to do this. I don't know if anybody's going to really enter, but I'm going to be giving away 2 copies of Sonic Frontiers. I'm going to be giving away a digital deluxe code and a normal code. All you got to do is like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, and put down below in the comments or in the post why you are excited for Sonic Frontiers. And the day the game launches, I will announce the winners of the codes. So yeah, I hope you guys are excited for that. I'm really excited for Frontiers. But with all that being said, I'm gonna call it a video. I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to go ahead and leave a like, as well as subscribe since you're still here as well. Let me know what you guys think about Sonic Frontiers, whether or not you're excited. Let me know your thoughts and opinions. But yeah, it's been Shibo. See you all. Have a good day. Peace out and take care.
Count what you have now. Don't count what you don't have.